eat the cake, buy the shoes, dance in the rain, take that trip, because tomorrow's not promised to us. And live every day to the fullest. It's why we're here. It's find that sunshine. And it's hard for me, don't get me wrong. I live in upstate New York where it's gloomy a good part of the year, and I do not like it. But I find but here's what we can do. Here's what I have to look forward to. So it can work, but just listen to the voice, follow that dream, find that sunshine. And if you can't do it on your own, find somebody, anybody. There's so many people out there that will help. Even if it's just, encouragement every day, that maybe they're not in the line of business that you want to be in, but maybe just it's that little bit of encouragement, from
Why don't you join me? 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine.
Welcome to the Seeking Sunshine podcast, where we're going to learn how to find the happy when life gets stormy. I'm Karaleigh Garrison, your host and guide on this incredible journey of self-discovery and empowerment. In a world that often seems clouded with negativity, this show is here to flip the script on how we perceive the world around us and everything life throws our way. We're on a mission to banish those negative mindsets and uncover the beauty that surrounds us. It's all about realizing that when you change your perspective, you reclaim your power. There is always something to be grateful for, but it starts by changing the way you look at it. Far too often, we view our lives through this really narrow lens of what is, and we miss the big picture. So the next time something bad happens, I dare you to reframe it and seek the sunshine and watch how it can transform your life. Remember, you need the darkness in order to see the light. Remember that there are trials in every blessing and blessings in every single trial. Seeking sunshine, this entire mindset, has changed my life, and I promise that it can change yours too. Trust in the power of your journey. Trust that your pain can become your purpose, and that your mess can be your message. Life is hard, but we can choose to be happy anyway. Welcome to Seeking Sunshine. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seeking Sunshine podcast. Thank you so much for coming and listening to my show today. I know that you have so many other things that you could be doing or listening to, and I promise you that this episode is going to make a difference in your day. Today's guest is Kristina Pierce, and her story is so powerful, and she has so much wisdom. This is an episode that it was one of the many that I recorded back in January and February, where I kind of overdid it and had too many people interviewed at once. And she's been so kind and so patient as to wait this long for her episode to air. But this was just the most perfect timing for this episode to come out. This was exactly what I needed to hear this week. And I hope that you find something in here that is just the perfect thing for you and whatever's going on in your life right now. So let me tell you about Kristina Pierce. Kristina has over 20 years of marketing experience, leading her to start working in Facebook ads in 2014. She's handled over 7 figures in ad spending, working with brands like Gabby Bernstein, Michael Hyatt, Pete Vargas, just to name a few. She's referred to as the ads assassin, and her love of ad strategy, creation, and optimization make her a force to be reckoned with, but she thrives on the data necessary to succeed in a digital world. Kristina is the CEO of Pierce Media, and since 2019, they work with passionate, driven entrepreneurs and business owners who want to skyrocket their business to the next level, increase brand awareness, and generate leads using paid traffic regardless of their budget. Her story is so inspirational, and I'm just sure that there's something in here that's going to spark inspiration in your mind. There's just so much gold in here. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you to Kristina. Hi, Kristina. I'm so excited to have you today on the Seeking Sunshine podcast.
Hi, I'm excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm really thrilled for this conversation and to get to know you better. So let us dive right in. I'd love to hear your story, how it all started, and how you got to be where you're at today.
Well, it's funny because I tell people I think a lot of us feel this way. We don't often think about our story until we see something or read something. And then all of a sudden you start and you're like, wow, I didn't realize this, or wow, I didn't realize where I was and where I am now. So, I went to college right out of high school, got a marketing degree. And that was a long, long time ago. And of course, that's all out the window. But I often tell people that if people would have asked me 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, probably, do you think you'd be where you are now? My answer would have been, heck no. From coming out of college to, relationships that weren't the ideal, to a marriage that certainly wasn't the ideal. And that was okay. It just wasn't ideal, and away it went, but gave me a son that I am so amazingly proud of. And then just trying to figure things out as a single mom, and what can I do and how can I be there for my son? And, I really looked at, and drew back on my faith to say, there's a bigger person making decisions than me. I just need to trust in him and go with it.
Yes.
And I did.
That's gotten me through so much.
I did. And I kept the course. And, one of my favorite ever is be still and know. And I am not one that likes to be still. But that was it. It was just be still and know. And I did.
I have that written all over my house, actually.
Yeah.
I have it on a keychain. I've got it up on my walls. It's everywhere. It's one of the hardest things, and yet the most important.
It sure is, and it's just like I said, I'm not that person. And it was the hardest thing for me to figure out. And that, a million things came to mind. I could try this, I could do this, I could do that. Nope, wasn't my path. And there were some really rocky times where, living as a single mom, the furniture in our apartment was very limited because I wanted to make sure he had what he needed and I didn't care. So there were just things that we do, and things turned around. I ended up, somebody from about 15 years in the past contacted me, and she was working at a startup in California, and said, hey, we're looking for somebody to do social marketing for us and handle social media marketing side of this business. And I'm like, what is social media marketing and how does this figure in? And so I took a chance, and they trained me on some things. And what it turned out was that it was a platform that was being built just for real estate agents. And it was where they could buy a membership and get all their marketing taken care of, get training, get their, if they needed flyers, business cards, websites, anything that they needed that was kind of like the promotion side, they could get done. And the one part that it included were running ads on Facebook for open houses, coming soon, for sale. So I learned trial by fire. I Googled everything. I YouTubed everything, but I loved it. Helped them build up that end. When I left, I was running ads for over 4,000 real estate agents, not only in the US, but in other countries as well.
That's amazing.
Learned a lot, made some really great friends that I have till this day, and thought, this is something, I can do this. And applied at a large agency here in the US, got picked up by them. It was just crazy from the get-go. I mean, my first month there, I was given clients that most people would never think of being able to work with. I mean, I worked with Gabby Bernstein and her team. I worked with Michael Hyatt and his team, Amy Porterfield's team. I really got to work with some really cool people that I admired and that I loved what they were doing in the world. And that went on I did a good run there, and finally one day said, you know what, I've been still long enough. I think it's my time. And said, no more. I'm going to run my own ship. I am now going on, it will be 4 years this July that I have owned my own agency. And I've steered my own ship, and I have been still, not real still, but I've been still. And it's the best thing in the world. But like I said, if 5 years ago, because it's just going on 10 years ago, somebody would have told me, I would have been like, what? You're crazy. No way. But it is. And the life that I have, I was remarried 5 years ago to my high school crush. So that was quite fun. And we have built a life that we love. And I have been able to build a life that I love, that I get up every morning and I know what I'm going to do and I love it. So it's not work. And, I'm thankful every day that there's things that I share with people. Sometimes I call them dumb things, but they're not. How nice it is to go into a store and be able to pick up the groceries that we need and not have to worry about adding them up in my head to make sure there's enough money, or walking into a store and seeing, a jacket that I really like and say, oh, I can buy that. It's simple things that we, don't think about now, that it was the way life was. And I mean, we're not rolling in it, don't get me wrong, but we live well.
It's so, so true. It's that comparison in life when it's like, I know how hard it is. I know what it's like to go to the grocery store and have to put back things because I went overboard, right? Like, I know what it's like to be like, oh, that's really cute, but nope, that's not, can't afford that right now. Like knowing what that feels like makes the opposite so much sweeter. It's really like, because you are familiar with the darkness, that you're able to see the light so much better.
And it truly is, it's one of the times, before I got into the more social media marketing and that side of it, I was working for a company outside of the home. And I had to drive into the office every day. And it was probably about a 30-minute drive, and I dreaded the job. I didn't want to get out of bed to go to it. I counted the minutes till I could take a lunch break, even if it meant sitting in my car, because I didn't want to be in the building okay, when can I leave? And at that time, something had come through, and I listened to Joel Osteen every morning on my way to work. I had Apple Podcast in my car, and I would just listen to his podcast every morning on my way in. And I truly think that's what got me through that's what gave me that faith to say, I know there's something better. I just have to be still. But that was it. And it's now,
and I'd love to point out like how hard it is to be still when you're not where you want to be, because we're in this mindset, this culture of like, I have to hustle my way out of this, right? If I just work harder and do more and go, I can force my way out of this situation that I don't love. And what we learn is like, actually, no. Actually, you have to find the appreciation in where you're already at. You have to be able to be still and just trust in that bigger plan.
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring up that you say, we're taught to hustle, and you hear it all the time. It's probably one of those words that I dislike so much, because that's how I felt. It was like, I need to hustle. Like every waking minute of the day, I need, in many waking minutes of the day, I need to be hustling. I need to be, what can I do? Where can I do? What do I need to learn? How can I do this? And when I sat back and said, I don't need to do that. I can build this slower and more effectively than anything else. And it's funny because one of the things I tell my clients all the time that I work with, they'll say, oh, well, so-and-so is shared with me and they're getting leads at $2 and my leads are $4.50. So we play the game of that quality over quantity. And it's the same thing in our life. Hustle is the quantity, not the quality. And it still isn't, because it doesn't bring those rewards. And so much of it, I put into the business with the clients I work with. Each one is individual. I get people that will reach out to me and say, you don't have rates on your website, or can you just send me what your packages are? If that's what you're looking for, I'm probably not it, because I don't have a one rate. I don't have a 3 packages and one fits all. Your business is different as my business is. So what package or what I put together that works for me is probably not going to work for you. And that's where I tell people, no, we don't do cookie cutter. We don't do, well, you can pick A, B, and C, A and B, or just A, because it's probably not going to fit. And when that doesn't fit, it's not going to work. No matter how hard you might hustle or think you need to, or how much we do, it just doesn't work that way. And I get so frustrated when I see those kind of generic things out there of that, hey, if you run an ad on Meta and you're willing to spend $50 a day and you run it this way, you're going to get results. Okay, if it was that easy, we'd all be millionaires, but it's not. So it's that timing of, I often tell clients, let's slow down. Let's start from A. Let's really look through everything. And a lot of the times I'll tell them, you're not ready. Go do this and this, or here's a list of what I need you to do first. Do those and then come back and see me. Then we'll spend some money. But it is the same thing. And it just all triggers, people listening can't see it, but behind me on a shelf in my office, there's a simple block that says, be still and know. And it will always sit there.
Yeah, it's so true. We try so hard and we get ahead of ourselves, and I do that a lot. So I'm totally in a position of like, running faster than we can walk, right? It's like getting ahead of ourselves when it's like, actually, you'll get there. You just have to let it take the time that it needs to take. And if you try to rush the process, it's actually going to take you longer to get where you want to go.
Absolutely. I think that, it's a saying of that we get in our own way. And we get in our own way. I had thought about, back or in my early 30s, I kept saying, I want to own a business. I want to run a business. I want to own a business, but what someday? And that all went to the side. I didn't start my agency until I'm on the downhill slide closer to 50 than I am 40. And I didn't start my business until into my 40s. So you're never too late. It's never too late. You don't have to be a 20-something-year-old, a 30-something-year-old. You don't even have to be a 40-something-year-old. You have life left. Do what you love and pursue it. And just realize that what you do isn't always going to happen overnight, and that's okay. It's your own race. Run your own race, and you're going to be just fine.
I love that. Run your own race. You're so spot on with that. So I wanted to deep dive into maybe some of the really tough things that you experienced before your business kind of exploded and everything, your life sort of started coming together and all the pieces, like, it's like, oh, I see how they all fit now. Because that happens eventually. We're hoping, right?
Yeah.
All those pieces come together. But like, it's because of the difficult times in our lives that we're able to see the sun. So where's the sunshine in your darkness? And we can just dive right into whatever you're comfortable with sharing.
It was probably one of the hardest things occurred I would say, within the last 10 years. And it was before the switch was made of where I thought I was going to end up. And I was I'd gotten some jobs in sales and business development for some larger companies. And I would travel quite a bit throughout just the US, thankfully. But I'd gotten hired by this company, and it was a struggle from the beginning. But it was kind of like, this is what I have to do. I have to make it work. the owner of the company was not a very nice person. And I knew that from the beginning, but thought my immediate supervisor was great. I can get through this. I can just make this work and it'll be okay. And I hadn't been feeling well, and some deals didn't go the way they should. So the owner summons me to Ohio, and I live in New York State, but far enough that I would fly. And it was, we're going to review some things. We're going to go over some stuff and give you some tools to help you. That was not it at all. I got there my flights were delayed. I got there late on a Sunday night. The next morning, I was picked up by a company vehicle at about 6:30 in the morning and taken there. And I had to sit at a computer and do some compliance training that they wanted me to do. While I was doing that, someone came in from the IT department and told me that they needed my company cell phone and my computer because they needed to update some things on them. No big deal. So here I am in this room for hours until lunchtime. The owner and my supervisor take me to lunch. And as we eat, and I'm still not feeling the best, they slide a piece of paper across the table and say, we want to take you from being an employee to being a representative for us, where you can sell our stuff, but you'll only get commission on what you sell and we'll cover nothing. So they had this whole thing planned. And it was not a good offer whatsoever, not even close to being a good offer to allow me to survive. So cell phone taken away, computer was not given back to me because they were not going to provide those to somebody that was an employee. And I was dropped off at the airport just as lunch ended, 3 hours before my flight was supposed to head home. And I was in tears. I remember sitting in the Dayton, Ohio airport at a gate, crying, having to call home to say, I lost my job. I don't have a job anymore. And I didn't want to get on the plane. I just didn't. It was a horrible feeling. And it wasn't because I had lost the job. It was because of how they made me feel.
Yeah, it was because the whole way they did it, like they flew you out there just to humiliate you. That's so messed up.
And took things away from me so I couldn't communicate. I mean, it just was horrible. And I ended up getting, the worst was, I ended up getting sick on the plane the whole way home. And I'll tell you, the sunshine on that plane ride was that a nurse happened to sit next to me. Got home, went to sleep, was so sick the next day that I ended up in the emergency room. But the sunshine with that was that I said, no more will I take whatever. I'm going to look, I'm going to find what I know I can do, and I'm going to take some chances. And I think for the longest time, I had been taking those safe roads of, this is what I know, so how dare I branch out? And it was that next week that this girl that I worked with many, many moons in the past for a payroll company, and she was a salesperson in California, and I was a salesperson in New York, but we ended up in training class together, reached out about this new opportunity. And I took the first interview, was not going to take the second interview because I thought I couldn't do it. And my husband said, you can do it. I know you can take it. You can do this. Took the second interview. And if it wasn't for that, and it wasn't for my husband giving me that extra, I know you can do this, you got this, I wouldn't be where I am now. And it's phenomenal. It just was, it was that dark, that was kind of a low point and a really dark, but from the sunshine being a nurse sitting next to me that made me feel good on that flight home to, it opening my eyes and saying, okay, I'm done with this. This is it. I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's just been that way ever since. I'm the one that looks at, maybe that client decided to leave my agency, or maybe that client didn't think that we were the right fit. That's okay. Because it was a great run, and that opens up a space for the next client who may be more of an ideal client and is that person that I'm meant to work with. So that was it. It was sitting in a Dayton, Ohio airport crying at a gate.
That is an amazing story. in so many ways. And thank you for sharing it with us and going into the depths, because I think we've all been there to a degree of just like, this feels hopeless. I do not see a way out. But I love how you were able to turn that around and be like, I'm done working with people who are going to treat me poorly. Like, that's not what I want my life to be. And so many of us feel like we don't have a choice in that matter. And so it's that, maybe that realization that like, oh, hey, I get to choose what I want my life to be like to a degree. I get to choose the people I interact with. I get to choose who I work with, and I don't have to work with people I don't want to work with. And a lot of us just feel really, really trapped by that. But we actually do have a choice, and that realization is just huge and so life changing.
It is, and you're right.
It's time for a short break. Do you love the takeaways at the end of each episode? Well, now you can have them sent to your email inbox every morning. It's called a snippet of sunshine. These beautiful quotes are a positive, uplifting way to start every day. To get on the list, simply send an email to seekingsunshine@gmail.com with the words, "I want to be on the list." Now back to the show.
You know, it's, so much is in the media and just all over anymore about, using your voice. And it's not always portrayed in the right way. And that's some of the things that bother me as well, is that, I know that as women, we've all come a long way. But, when we talk about the word hustle, I don't like it any more than any others. And there's other words I don't like. And it gets me some comments back now and then, but, I'm not a fan of girl boss. I'm not a fan of, boss babe. And I get it. I'm not a fan of lady boss, female CEO. Why? They don't call, if you talk about, all right, let's use Gary V, who's extremely, popular, or Grant Cardone or Russell Brunson. You don't call them boss dudes or boy bosses.
Man boss. We should do
Yeah,
that. That sounds hilarious.
So why? I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a boss. I'm a CEO. I don't need any other words attached to that. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. And I have nothing wrong with companies out there that want to use that. But I don't think that should be the defining moment for us. I don't think that should be the defining title. It just isn't. It's use your voice for where you feel, where that passion is, where you feel called to, where you feel that, you know what it feels like when it's deep down in you and you're like, something, it keeps bubbling up. Let it bubble up and give it a try. You know what? Don't go bankrupt over it. Don't get me wrong, but give it a try. Reach out to, I get people that reach out to me that want to do what I do. How'd you do it, Kristina? Where'd you start? How did you learn? I'll share with you anything you want to know. I don't have some secret weapon. And the world's big enough, and there's enough business out there for all of us. Some of my best friends do exactly what I do. And we brainstorm together and we share ideas. So look for that mentor, look for that person that can help you find your voice, or not even find it, but just help you make it louder, and will guide you, because we're all looking to, someday there's going to be some professions that are gone if people don't start. A friend of my mom, she's 73 years old, and she's a seamstress. And she does beautiful work, and she can cut her own patterns. She doesn't use patterns. Someday that's going to be gone, because this younger generation aren't being taught that it's okay.
I hope that doesn't
to want to be,
a
seamstress.
That's what I studied in high school. I studied costume design, and that's what I went into, was like sewing and creating without patterns and just like making things. That creativity element is so important, and we just cannot lose it.
Exactly. And it's, with anything, there are 20-something-year-olds out there that are doing what I'm doing, and they're blowing it out of the water. And, there's a couple of them that I turn to be like, yeah, because they're fresh with it. I tell people I'm the old school that, they say it gets a little harder to learn as we get older, and they're not kidding. We don't pick it up as quick. But it's their generation that grew up with it, so they already know the ins and outs. But it's just, supporting each other. And if you can be the sunshine in my day, or that sunshine at that moment I need it, or I can be somebody's sun, have at it.
Absolutely. And I loved what you were saying about like girl boss and all these titles, and it's just like your power doesn't come from that. Your power
No.
doesn't come from some title or some job or whatever. Your power comes from you. Your power is your choice, really. It's like, are you honoring yourself? That's where your power comes in.
Yeah, it certainly is, and even after I started, the first year was a little like, am I really doing this? And it was a lot of panic too. There were times, the pandemic hit and I got scared and
And
I
that's
lost.
exactly when you're like, oh, be still. When those
Yeah,
panic, that panic hits and you're just starting out and you're like, I'm not sure I can do this. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what I'm doing. And that panic just sets in. That's exactly when we need that be still
yeah,
the
it is.
very
And,
most.
with the pandemic, all of a sudden in 1 month, I had quite a few clients that were like, we're not sure what's going to happen. Can I pause for a couple months and let's just see what's going to happen with this whole shutdown thing? And I'm like, okay. But then all of a sudden I got flooded. And it was because a lot of the, coaches and course creators and entrepreneurs that I work with realized that, they were doing in-person events. They were doing on-stage speaking and they couldn't anymore. So they had to shift or they were going to lose their businesses. So, there was a time that I felt guilty during the pandemic if somebody would say, oh, are you struggling? And no, I was thriving. And I felt guilty saying that because I knew so many were suffering and so many were facing those hard decisions. And it just, and I still face them. Don't get me wrong. There's days that I wake up and think, geez, if I do more than Facebook ads now, but I often think, well, if Zuckerberg decides to pull the plug on Facebook, what am I going to do? Or, you know, clients can choose to come and go as they please. It's still, there still is some fear there. There still is some unknown, but
Still have to trust.
I just trust and know that, you know what, he didn't bring me this far to take it all away. So I'm here for a reason. And I just, you know, I thank, I thank God every day, every morning. I thank God for the life that I have, for this business that I've built every day, and I'll never stop. So it's just, I'm in awe. It's funny that you and I are talking now because February is my biggest month to date in the business. So it's a huge win for me. Um, and if somebody would have told me that 4 years ago that I would have a month like I have had in February, I would have told you you're crazy and that there's no
Yeah.
way. So it just is. It's amazing. And I think back to that girl that cried in the sitting at the gate at the Dayton, Ohio airport.
Yeah, like how far you've come and what an amazing future you had ahead of you. And I love how you're finding joy in the pandemic. I love when I get to talk to people who are like, "Oh my gosh, the pandemic, it was this entire worldwide thing where everything it was this like haze of negativity that just like
Mhm.
covered the whole earth." And for me and my family, we had one of our worst years ever the year before. So that when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, wait, this is it. This is the hard thing I have to go through. It's sit home. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was home with my kids. I have three special needs kids and like trying to do their schoolwork. And I was in college full time doing it online. And it was not like it was easy. I was super busy, but I was like, this is so much, this is almost a break. This is not I'm not seeing the struggles maybe so many else are feeling. And I totally understand feeling guilty around that. And the reason I don't think I ever really did was because I'd had my hard time like right before that. I was like, no, I went through my stuff and I'm out on the other side. But I love having the ability to look back on the pandemic and be like, there were so many blessings in that.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much like good that came out of this really, really worldwide difficult thing that everyone had to just sort of deal with. And even if it was amazing for you, there were still hard things. I mean, we had to get used to different things. There was so much uncertainty. No one liked wearing masks. Like there were certainly a lot of things about it that were not easy. And yet to be able to look at that and be like, there was so much good in that time. I think that is such an amazing skill and perspective to be able to have.
Guys, I just wanted to pause here for 1 second to let you know about the awesome thing that I'm doing right now. I'm so excited to announce that I'm offering a custom song experience for a small number of people. This is your chance to take your story, your podcast, or your business even, and turn it into an incredible, timeless work that will bring back beautiful, loving emotions for decades to come. This is such a perfect gift for your spouse, for a newborn baby, or for a parent, and it's a really great way to embody your business or your podcast's mission. We're going to meet together several times and deep dive into the message and emotion you want to convey to make sure that you're getting something that you absolutely adore. A custom song is an incredible asset for advertising, for lifting team spirit, and for encapsulating family memories. If you are interested in a custom song, please email customsongs@karaleighgarrison.com.
Yeah, that's, it's all we can do. I unfortunately lost two people that were very, very close to me in a short period of time back in 2011 and 2012. I had a cousin who passed away, but I always tell people I hate calling her my cousin because she was always my sister. We were extremely close. I mean, she was my best friend from the moment she was a couple years older than I was. So from the moment I took my first breath, we were best friends, talked to each other, multiple times a day on the phone, every day, had secrets, had everything. And unfortunately, she got cancer and she passed away. And it changed my world. And I tell people because I lost my best friend. And that's a different kind of loss than things. And one of the promises I made her was that I would live life for her. She never made it to 40, and that I would live life for her and see the good, because there's a whole lot of bad out there. And then, less than a year after she passed away, I lost my brother unexpectedly, my older brother. And as of right now, I have outlived both of them. So I am at an age that neither of them I've ever got to see. And I remember that it's not promised. There's so many people that don't get the chance to get older, that don't get the chance to, I'll try it later or someday. I dislike the word someday so badly. It's a do it now. People say, well, we'll save our money and we'll travel when we retire. Well, a good friend of my mom's, they did that. She retired, and 2 months later, her husband passed away from pancreatic cancer. They never got to take that trip to Hawaii that they had saved and planned for. And she won't go now because she wanted to go with him. So don't, it's kind of like the saying of eat the cake, buy the shoes, dance in the rain, take that trip, because tomorrow's not promised to us. And live every day to the fullest. It's why we're here. It's find that sunshine. And it's hard for me. Don't get me wrong. I live in upstate New York where it's gloomy a good part of the year, and I do not like it. But I find but here's what we can do. Here's what I have to look forward to. So it can work, but just listen to the voice, follow that dream, find that sunshine. And if you can't do it on your own, find somebody, anybody. There's so many people out there that will help, even if it's just, encouragement every day, that maybe they're not in the line of business that you want to be in, but maybe just it's that little bit of encouragement. For me, it was listening to Joel Osteen driving into that office that I didn't like. But that was his voice was what I needed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. You've created so much beauty out of the pain of the loss of those two amazing people. Like, made their lives mean so much more because of how they affected you, and in sharing that, how they affect all the rest of us. Like, it makes their stories so much more powerful when we're able to talk about it and use their experience to remind us to find that happiness as much as we can now. You don't have to wait for it. You can find it now. You can do that. It's amazing. It's really beautiful. And that's why, like, here I try to really deep dive into those dark moments, because even though they're really painful, they bring so much beauty when we can learn and grow and improve from
Absolutely.
our past experiences.
It is, they say that everything you've gone through has built you and made you who you are and where you are now. And, I often remember, them saying that, when the door closes behind you, the next one might not open, but it's okay to pray in the hall. So pray in that hallway.
I love that.
Pray in that hallway, and it'll be there when it's time. And trust me, like I said, I know I'm that person that wants it yesterday, and I want it 500 times faster, and I want it 10 times greater. But there's certain things that you just do. It just, that whole thing of someday, just, I have really, really learned that it's not it. I mean, whether it's happened to you or you hear the stories about what happens every day in this world, those are the things that make you go, yeah, yeah. And like I said, I've had my doubts. Don't get me wrong. There's times even when I'm like, I'll get contacted by somebody and they'll be like, hey, we're hiring in-house. Do you want to come work for us? And, alone? And I'm like, oh man, a regular work schedule. But then, and I'm like, guaranteed hours, guaranteed salary. And it's like little bits of it make you go, until the day when, it's February in upstate New York and we haven't seen the sun in a few days, and it gets to be 55 degrees. And on a Tuesday at noon, my husband says, hey, why don't we go to a winery up the lake and grab some lunch? And I can say, yeah, let's do that. So it's remembering the why when you do things as well, why I do this and what I can do, and it makes it all worth it. But just, if it's, my biggest thing is just do it. Just do it. People say, if you could go back to when you were 23 and tell your 23-year-old self one thing, it would be just do it. Just do it. Follow your heart and just do it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, and I found that, there are so many things looking back that have made me who I am, which is the most important thing, but have put me where I am, that I will forever be grateful for. The large agency that I worked for, it was not a good experience. We were used and abused and overworked and underpaid, and it was rough. But I'm thankful. I will always be thankful to that agency, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So,
yep, you wouldn't know better. It reminds me of yesterday I was talking to my husband, and we kind of had this really deep conversation that sort of came out of the blue, and I was going, oh my gosh, God is in the tiny details. He's in the little day-to-day actions. He's in those small moments. He's not usually the one filling our heads with the big grandiose, like this is all of a sudden going to happen and everything's going to be fixed in just one little thing and all my problems will be over.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in that. He's in the little teeny sparkles of sunshine that we can choose to see throughout our day. And one thing I like to say, in regards to those cloudy days and that, mugginess, it's like if you can see the clouds, you're able to see them because of the sun.
And you're right. And you'll like this one. I had kind of forgotten about it for the moment. But back when, I'd gone through the first loss, I needed to talk to somebody. And I found someone at the church that I could go talk to. I respected him. He was an older gentleman and he just was big in the church. And I knew that let's go chat. And at that time, not only did I have a loss, but I was in a relationship I shouldn't have been in. And I didn't know what to do. I knew, but I couldn't make the decision. And he said to me, I said, I've prayed on it. I said, and I just don't think that God hears me. And he goes, God always hears you. And he always answers you. They just might not be the answers you wanted to hear. And I will never forget that. And he said, just know that you think that you don't hear him or you think he's not there. But sometimes he gives you the answers that you don't want to hear. And I thought, there you go. And it's just what you said. Some people expect this huge revelation to be all passed down and it all laid out. And it's not. Sometimes it's those things of, removing a relationship or, making sure two paths don't cross or making a path cross that you didn't expect, but that you don't realize how important that path was until later on. With my husband, he was a couple of years ahead of me in high school, and I had the biggest crush on the world on him. And I graduated from high school in 1993, so it was quite some time ago. And I always did. And he, over the years, before I had married, there were opportunities where I knew where he was and I could have run into him. And I tried to. But each time it was set up that I could run into him, he wasn't where he was supposed to be. He wasn't at a spot where he was supposed to be, or he wasn't, he's a retired police officer. So he wasn't, it was at 1 and he was supposed to be directing traffic during this huge festival. And I went down to where he was supposed to be directing traffic and it wasn't him. And they're like, oh no, he got called out on a call. So I never got to see him. So there were times that our paths were supposed to cross again and they didn't because I believe we weren't ready. It wasn't our time. So many years passed and we've been together for 11 years. We've been married coming up on 5 years. I posted on Facebook that I was looking for a futon for my son and he had one. And I went to his house and picked up a futon and we've been together ever since.
That's amazing. It's so hard to be at like whatever point in the journey you're on and to just trust that there is a bigger path ahead that you just can't quite see. Yeah. And we learn line upon line, right? And God doesn't give us more than that next line because we're not ready for the 6 lines ahead of it. And that can be really tough when you're like, no, I'm ready. I swear.
Yeah.
I'm ready for all the things. And he's like, no, you have a little more growth that needs to come first. And we're like, no. And then we resist it. And this whole thing. But if we can just be still and trust.
Yeah. And it is. And I tell people I'm proof. I mean, like I said, I was 40 something years old when I started this agency on my own. And a lot of people would have thought, why start now? Well, why not? Why not? Tell me why not. And I'll tell you why. But the why is because it's there. And it just, sometimes it's not a big deal. And I still, to this day, just a couple of days ago, I had somebody, my husband and I were somewhere and the person looked at me and goes, what do you do? And I said, I own a marketing agency. And they're like, really? Wow, that's so cool. But often I'll say, oh, I work at a marketing agency, and they'll be like, well, which one? And I'm like, mine. And then they're like, wow. And I'm like, I guess it kind of is wow.
Yeah, it's so hard to like look at our own selves and be like knowing our whole journey and the whole process it took to get there, and then to be like, oh, hey, I guess I'm kind of impressive.
Yeah,
Hard to,
or when I get a lot of referrals. Most of my clients come from referrals, which I love, because that means that the people that have worked with me really enjoyed
yeah.
working with me. And I got one the other day, and her message started out with, I heard that or so-and-so told me that you're brilliant and that I should speak to you. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that comment.
Oh, well, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll get that.
But it's where you don't realize it. It's just, I guess with me, I do what I do, and I try to do it the very best I can. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay too. So
Yeah, to be okay with when it doesn't, and to just
yeah.
continue to trust. Like I had to make a motto for myself this year. And my motto I ended up deciding is, the answer is trust God. And I keep having to come back to that multiple times a day when things get a little rocky, and I'm like, you start to feel that anxiety creep in of like, I don't know what's going to happen next, and I feel like I must know, the next step, and I don't know it yet, and that's not okay. And then it's like, oh, the answer is trust God. The answer is, to all of the questions that I'm asking, trust God.
Mm-hmm. It's just be still and know.
So I love it. I love it so much. Thank you for an incredible conversation today. Will you tell us how we can follow you, how we can find you, if anyone's looking for a marketing expert, how they can get to you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty easy. So if you're on Facebook and you want to find me, it's Pierce Media. And I will make sure I'll send you the links if you want to put them anywhere for them. On Instagram, it's the same thing. I'm Pierce Media on Instagram. And my website is www.k, the letter K, piercemedia.com, because somebody took my Pierce Media domain.
Dang it.
So it still works, but that's how you can find me there. But like I said, I'm on social, and absolutely. And it's not just, if you have some questions, if you want to ask me more, if you need a little bit of motivation, reach out to me. I'm your girl. Some days I need it, so I might reach back out too.
Well, and connection is so, so important. So as we wrap up, do you have any final words of wisdom, words of advice for us?
Just do it. Just follow your heart. Know that there's someone much, much greater in control, and just follow your heart. And if you do and take the words that I did, it's just be still and know. Just do it. And if it takes 6 months, if it takes a year, if it takes 6 years, if it takes 10 years, it's okay. It's your race. Run it the way you're supposed to.
Ooh, I love it so much. Thank you for coming on today. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you. I loved being here. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you have a fantastic day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Kristina, for coming on to the show. It was absolutely an honor to have you on here and to hear you speak and to hear your story. I'm so thrilled at everything that I got to learn, and these takeaways are such gold. All right, here they are. Number 1, you'll get there. You just have to let it take the time that it needs to take. And if you try to rush the process, it's actually going to take you longer to get where you want to go. This was one of those ones that I needed to hear so badly this week. Number 2, you have life left. Do what you love and pursue it, and just realize that what you do isn't always going to happen overnight, and that's okay. It's your own race. Run your own race, and you're going to be just fine. Number 3, your power doesn't come from some title or some job. Your power comes from you. Your power is your choice. Are you honoring yourself? That's where your power comes in. Number 4, eat the cake, buy the shoes, dance in the rain, take the trip, because tomorrow is not promised to us. Live every day to the fullest. It's why we're here. Find that sunshine. Number 5, Everything you've gone through has built you and made you who you are and where you are now. When the door closes behind you, the next one might not open, but it's okay to pray in the hall. Number 6, if I could go back to my 23-year-old self and tell her one thing, it would be just do it. Just do it. Follow your heart and just do it. Number 7, God is in the tiny details. He is in the little day-to-day actions. He is in the small moments. He's not usually the one filling our heads with the big grandiose actions. Like this is all of a sudden going to happen and all my problems are suddenly going to be over. He is in the little sparkles of sunshine that we can choose to see throughout our day. If you can see the clouds, you are able to see them because of the sun. Oh my gosh. So make sure you go find Pierce Media on Facebook and Instagram and at www.kpiercemedia.com. And then also make sure you go find my website, which is karaleigh.garrison.com. And if you want to be on my email list and get a snippet of sunshine, which is a gorgeous daily quote in your email box, send me a message. You can send it to seekingsunshinepodcast@gmail.com. Just send me your email address so I can put you on that list and you will get a daily quote. I hope that you have such an amazing day, and I'm going to leave you with a song.
I wanna be free. through every story.